This episode of the All About Nothing podcast is sponsored by listeners like you and Big Media LLC, encouraging you to check your voter registration. In a world where every voice counts, ensuring your registration is accurate and up to date is the simplest, most effective way to guarantee your vote is heard. Don't leave your participation to chance. Take a moment today and verify your status and stay ready for the next election by visiting theallaboutnothing.com/voter. All right, welcome everyone to the All About Nothing podcast, kind of daily show. I am Barrett Gruber, host of the All About Nothing podcast. You can find me across all social media at Barrett Gruber. With me is Brock, town councilman for the town of Blythewood in South Carolina, as well as coordinator for the upcoming Soda City Comic Con here in Columbia, South Carolina, August 22nd, 23rd, sodacitycomiccon.com. Go out there, follow all of their social media because a lot of information out there available, and reshare it too. That'd be very helpful. sodacitycomiccon.com. You can find links for everything there. Brock, before we get started, I want to shout out my brother and my mother and Preference, his girlfriend, at the house in Winder, Georgia, because over the weekend they built their own solar panel array, and then the necessary equipment to actually now hook that into their house. So under optimal conditions, and it's a system they can continue to build onto, but under optimal conditions, they could potentially make enough or create or use enough solar, sun, electrical power or whatever to really reduce their drain from the co-op that they're on. So I thought that was really cool. I wanted to shout them out for that. That's fantastic.
That is pretty cool. And you know what, Barrett? I think that we should start every show after you give your spiel by asking me a simple question: are you still single and available? And I would actually, most of the time, probably lead off the show with a hee hee. Yes, I am, but I'm still looking. So, talking about solar panels, that's interesting. Do they live like out kind of in the woods, so to speak, or
they're about halfway between Atlanta and Athens, Georgia, near 316. The town they live in is actually called Auburn, or their address is Auburn. Carl is the actual town that they vote in. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's increasingly becoming less and less rural, and I know increasingly is not really something you attach to rural, but it's decreasing the actual ruralness of it.
Kind of like Blythewood.
Yeah, similar to Blythewood. I would say Blythewood is probably a little bit more incorporated than their Carl. I only lived there for about 2 years after we moved there from Atlanta. We moved there in 98, and then I moved here in 2000. Or just right after 2001. So it was, it was heavily rural. Across the street from us was probably 50, 60, 70. You know what? I can't measure, but tons and tons of forest land. And then I came home one day from working at the radio station, to find that the entire, like a huge chunk of the forest had been clear cut. And then by the time I left, in visiting after that, they clear cut the entire forest, have cows that live across the street from them. But even on 316, traveling from Athens to Atlanta and back and forth, it's just becoming more and more suburban to urban. Thanks, Michael. It's interesting to see how those things take place, and just the explosion of how urban North Georgia is becoming, with Atlanta just continuing to bleed further and further out. My hope is one day we'll get a high-speed railway between like Atlanta, Augusta, Columbia. I'd visit Atlanta a lot more often if there was a railway that I could take between here and there. That'd be nice.
If I'm not mistaken, we have seen some plans for a high-speed rail to go between Greenville and Charleston, and I think stopping somewhere along the Columbia route. In the Blythewood master plan, there is some, I would use the word cockamamie, idea to put some sort of light rail to transport people from Blythewood to downtown Columbia. And I just laugh at that simply because we had a Comet bus would come up here and we couldn't get more than 3 or 4 people in it. It was
Gotcha.
so sparsely used that they simply just stopped coming. So
Yeah.
no. But I could see rail. I could see rail doing it.
Yeah. I think, because I know that, in California, they're in the process of building a high-speed rail, and, other parts, the megalopolis that is New York and down to Baltimore, Washington, D.C. Just in case no one noticed, Michael Jackson is joining us again tonight. Not on loop, just random noises. So
it's the new thing.
Wanted to, but yeah, so high-speed rail, I would absolutely be in favor of high-speed rail as an infrastructure project, and whether that's at a federal level or whatever. See, that's the thing about, I get that it costs money and it takes away, it adds more to what needs to be as part of the budget, but we just increased the federal budget by $500 billion, giving $1.5 trillion to the Pentagon, and they're not spending it on veterans affairs. They're not spending it on I guess I don't know. It's just insane to me where the money gets spent. But I did want to bring up as our first topic, South Carolina Republicans went to the polls starting today for early voting, going through till Friday for the South Carolina Republican primary election. This is a special election to replace the seat that has been left vacant by Lindsey Graham's death back on July 11th. It's crazy to me. It has almost been a month since Lindsey Graham passed away, and it feels like it was yesterday.
That's what it feels like. That, yeah.
As far as I've seen, medical examiners say he did die of an aortic dissection, which is basically like an artery explosion, just ripped. And then, again, like, I'd never want anyone to go through something like that. Even somebody that I didn't agree with, I can't say I disliked Lindsey Graham. I didn't know him, but even the way some of the Democrats talk about Lindsey Graham, he was a fun guy to be around. He wasn't, out of the way mean to anybody. I think that, so as far as like as a human being goes, fine. But a lot of people have talked about how much they miss him, and the benefits to the state of South Carolina. Of course, his sister was the thumb was put on the scales. Whether it was a tiny sausage finger thumb or however you want to look at it. But basically, McMaster's was told to to put Darlene Graham, Lindsey Graham's sister, in there as his temporary appointment. But then later, Donald Trump came in and said, apparently told Darlene personally to run for the full term, framing as though it's, an honor for her brother's legacy. Which,
well, that could be a very interesting campaign issue, that if she ultimately ends up with the nomination, that a vote for her is essentially a vote for the exact same type of politics and the same type of person. It's just Lindsey with a wig, so to speak. She looks very much like him.
She does look like him.
She looks a lot like him. When I first saw her picture, I was like, oh my God, is that him in drag? But that's behind closed hotel doors. But so yeah, I think that could be a very interesting campaign strategy to link the two of them together, simply because she claims that I think I didn't watch the debate on Monday night. I think it's funny that there's only 3 days of early voting. That's kind of funny. Yeah. I'm assuming there's no mail-in ballots.
You had to apply for your absentee ballot. I think you had to apply for it before today, but ultimately it's next week. Like, so, and that could be wrong, but yeah, absentee ballot applications definitely closed before.
Yeah.
And if you got your ballot in the mail, then the likelihood is it didn't include Danny Ford or Danny Lee Ford. By the way, I didn't know this. Danny Lee Ford II, he is the son of famed Clemson football coach Danny Ford.
Yes, I knew that.
One of the people that got away with, if speculated, but he potentially cheated to get that national championship. But neither here nor there.
Well, didn't the, if I'm not mistaken, the reason that he wasn't originally included in the ballot was because he hadn't voted in 2 of the 3 most recent elections or something, which is very interesting because the same exclusion should apply to Darlene Graham too.
Yeah. So Danny Ford, he is a farm owner who filed to run in the August 11th special GOP Senate primary.
No issues there.
Yeah. But the party itself leaned on rule and its 11 section A subsection 6, which requires candidates to have been pre-registered Republican for 90 plus days. And I think you had to vote in 2 of the last 3 primaries. So it really came down to a definition of how that rule is written. And this is a rule that's only written into the GOP's, like, I don't even know what to call it, but their charter, I guess. So it's not really an official, it's not like part of the Constitution. It's not part of any sort of like election commission rules. But Ford voted in both the June 9th and June 23rd runoff. And as far as I'm concerned, that's 2 primaries out of the last 3.
It satisfies 2 out of the last 3. I would agree with that.
Well, the party decided that those were the same election and that he couldn't technically clear that bar until there was an actual like reading. So yesterday, Richland County Judge, I think it's Daniel Coble, granted a preliminary injunction ordering that the SCGOP had to certify Ford and put him on the ballot. So as of like 3:00 this morning, the counties, and I don't remember how many counties, 46 or whatever counties in the state of South Carolina.
Right. Yep.
They were scrambling because early voting started today, and they had to get Danny Ford's name on the ballot where he wasn't there before. So if you got an absentee ballot, I suspect there's a good possibility that you'd either have to write his name in or he's not on your ballot.
He definitely won't be on the ballot, and they're not going to go and reprint. But as far as getting his name on the ballot, that's just simply adding another one on the digital ballot, and if you vote for him, it just printed out. That's not.
Yeah, but there's testing. They have to do testing.
I know. Yeah. I know. It's a cluster, and that's right. And I mean, let's just be real. He more than likely will not finish in the top 2. He probably won't even finish in the top 5. So making a stink, worth it? Honestly, probably not. Exposing the hypocrisy, absolutely worth it. Absolutely worth it. So the last polling that was done was July 30th, and that had so first of all, the candidates running, you've got Senator Darlene Graham, because she is sworn in as a senator now, Congressman Ralph Norman and Russell Fry, former Governor Mark Sanford, Mark Lynch, Duke Buckner, Mark McBride, Glenda Gale Parker, Samuel Shepard, as well as Danny Ford now. But early polling, of course, didn't include Danny Ford, but had Norman at around 22%, Darlene Graham at 19%, Russell Fry around 12%, Mark Sanford had 11%, no one near close to 50%. So the runoff is inevitable. Yeah. But that polling was done July 30th prior to any of the debates. And from what I have read, I watched some of the debates, some highlights from some of the answers. Mark Sanford really sort of just came out as the winner, which I don't think anyone could potentially deny without. I don't think anyone could deny that Mark Sanford, out of that entire list of people, is the most statesman of all of them. Yeah, and I agree.
I potentially think it's going to be Darlene Graham and Mark Sanford at this point. I really do.
That would not hurt my feelings. Of course, I can't go and vote Tuesday. I couldn't vote 2 weeks later. Mark Sanford is probably the only Republican out of the group that you named that I could probably cast a vote for.
Yeah.
because I feel like it's a known commodity. I think his hiking days are over. So you don't have to worry about that. Although, if you know the backstory on that story, you probably can't fault him for that. Um, so,
Sorry.
well, when you're the governor and you don't even get to control, wear the pants in your own mansion, that presents a problem.
Well, your wife's not even in the mansion. Like, so the room, I'll just say that the rumors of it was not what you would call a very happy marriage.
Correct.
And they lived apart during the second, from what I've heard, she didn't even live in the governor's mansion during the second term or most of it. So it's not like no excuses, but at the same time, come on, who cares?
Exactly. Yeah, but he's probably the one that I could stomach casting a vote for.
Yeah.
I read a little bit about some of the debate, and I got the same impression that Sanford kind of came out as the most level-headed and probably the most qualified, and overall he won, if there was such a winner. But I also got the impression that the other candidates, with the exception of Mark Lynch, were vying for who could fit Trump's balls the deepest in their mouths. Like, I'm going to out-Trump you. I'm going to be the bigger Trumper. And for the record, I can't stand Trump. I tend to lean Republican, so that, you and I have some disagreements on some of the issues. We agree on a lot of things because I think we tend to be a little more toward the middle of the road. But the shape of the Republican Party right now is just disgusting. And I like a John McCain type Republican, a Ronald Reagan type Republican. Thomas Massey is Adam Kitzinger, Liz Cheney. These are great American patriots that you don't agree with the state of the party now, you're ostracized. That's not that's just wrong. And so the party as it stands now, I can't support. But fiscally conservative, a little socially liberal, willing to give somebody a hand up, not a handout. Yeah,
I agree.
That's kind of where I would be. But you look at what happened in Michigan. You're getting fringe candidates that are being nominated, and that might, in and of itself, be a little spooky for the moderate Republicans and moderate Democrats. If you've got fringe on the right with the MAGAs, you've got fringe on the lefts with the socialists. So it's going to be very interesting. I'm a capitalist at heart. I bleed green. So I'm definitely not in favor of a socialist. I'll take a Republican over a socialist right now if I have my choice.
Yeah, it really depends because, these Democrats that are on the very far left under the flag of the Democratic Socialists of America or whatever party, it's not really a party. It's sort of a fringe group inside of the Democratic Party.
Kind of like a movement, maybe?
Yeah, same as the Freedom Caucus or the Tea Party, like those were the. To me, it's exactly the same in its distance from the middle as what the Republicans had. MAGA is a fringe party inside of the Republican Party. Now
it's a large one, though.
It's a huge
large one.
Yeah. Anything over 25%, and MAGA is about 35% of the. It's dwindling. But the number of people,
rightfully so.
Of course. They're leaders on. I assume at this point we could probably come up with a fairly respectable death pool on when that MAGA collapse will happen. But yeah, when it comes to the socialist agenda of those fringe candidates, you've got some of them that are calling for all out pure communism, which I think that's a really dangerous game to be playing, especially for some of them that are going to wind up probably winning their seats.
Yeah.
Because their movement is going to be completely ineffective. One, they're going to be junior, Congress people. Two, they are such a small group that, you're only talking like 7 or 8, 7, 8, 10 potential members of this DSA inside inside of the Democratic Party. So it's not really enough to make an impact across the House and across the Senate. But there are aspects to it that I agree with, in the sense that the whole purpose of our government is to make the lives of the people that live that are in this country, and I say that very specifically for a reason, but the people in this country make their lives better. And I go back to when I was on a honeymoon, I say a honeymoon, in Mexico, and I suffered from what was just a debilitating migraine. I was transported to the hospital. I was transported to an emergency clinic near our resort, and when they treated me, I felt better. I walked out of there. I did not pay a dime for any of the services that were rendered to me, because
that's because you paid pesos.
Well, I didn't pay a single peso, but because they have socialized healthcare. So there are aspects of socialism that, one, we already participate in. We pay taxes that take care of our
socialist health care.
Yeah.
You can't tell me that we don't. You walk into a hospital, you've got an emergency, you will be treated. And if you can't pay the bill, they just write it off. That is by definition socialist medicine.
They charge the taxpayers of South Carolina for it. And that's
with
part of the social
and higher
the hospitals in South Carolina get access to available tax money from, publicly funded tax money to pay those bills. Here's the thing: creditors still go after even after a bill has been potentially paid through the state of South Carolina, they will still be going after the individual for that bill. And the hospitals don't then refund the state for the money that's been paid for that bill after the fact. So our hospital system is crap here in South Carolina. We have some fairly corrupt, for 30 years, we've had very severely corrupt hospital systems here in South Carolina. But yeah, there are aspects to socialism that I agree with. But I think any Christian that actually looked at, what Christianity is, I think that they would also have to agree, even though they won't, because it's against their prophets, religion, whatever. But they'd have to agree. If somebody is sick, you try to you take care of them. If someone needs help, then you do what you can. Don't overextend yourself, but you do what you can to help people out. It's just that's how the world is supposed to operate. It's how I feel like the world should operate. Everything shouldn't be driven by profits. Profits are great, but it shouldn't be driven by profits. Somebody in our comments is telling us how thankful they are for President Trump. So,
ooh, that's okay.
Yeah, and and to each their own. I can tell you, and you
now.
I can tell you that
maybe.
I know with school starting up soon, there are a lot of families currently that are
today.
Yeah. Well, so University of South Carolina opens what? Oh, I think it may already be in session. Either way, it's starting soon. But the number of people in Facebook posts and things like that have talked about how their child isn't getting to start classes because of just how mucked up the loan system is currently with the education system, that they had gotten notifications saying that their loans have been denied, even though they had been pre-approved, or they've been approved previously. They had accepted to go to a university, and now they have no school to go to because there is no financial financial status available for them to actually start classes. So I don't know how many people this is affecting, but it's enough that I'm seeing it on social media posts that somebody's child isn't able to start classes this week or last week because the bursar office doesn't have any of the necessary funds for that particular student, and it's happening over and over. Like these are little things that are going to have an impact on your precious President Trump when it comes to these Republicans getting elected in November. Like, I mean, it's serious, and I don't understand how we deviated into the worst stupid timeline. Well, I do. I tell you, I have a theory on that.
Let's hear it.
The Chicago Cubs in 2016 were never meant to win the World Series, and when they did, it sent us down the wrong timeline. And in that wrong timeline, we have Donald Trump as president for 2 terms. They gave in that timeline, they gave Senator, one of your favorite senators. Shoot, you just said his name. I can't remember his name. See, and in this timeline, I have dementia. Ran against Barack Obama in 2008. Sarah Palin was his vice president pick. McCain. Gosh.
Oh yeah, John McCain.
But in this stupid timeline, John McCain died earlier than he should have. We have Governor McMaster as a 10-year governor for a state that only allows for 2 terms because Haley jumped ship to go be the ambassador. She went to go be the ambassador to the UN for 1 year. Like, it's the dumbest fucking timeline ever. That's all it is.
And now has kind of disappeared to obscurity.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she was asked if she would have any interest in potentially, she was asked if she would be interested in running for Senate, and her answer was unequivocally no.
Well,
and
she probably knew that she would end up in the crosshairs of a certain orange-haired buffoon that would just take great pride in just slamming her on a daily basis. And then, I wouldn't put myself out there like that. I think she's just, you're asking for heartache and misery for a month, and, who knows what she's doing. And, I wouldn't do it. It wouldn't be worth it. It's not worth it.
Yeah. Also, before we get out of here, because I know we only have a couple more minutes, but we are
can
on
talk as long as we want.
Barrett's got a bedtime, man. Thursday night Super Slam. What is the Thursday night? Is it Thursday Night Raw? What is Thursday Night Wrestling?
Monday Night Raw. We have Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown. Night SmackDown.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess for some reason I thought maybe there was a Thursday night thing. I don't know. There's something that comes on Thursday nights that interrupts my tonight's Wednesday. What the fuck am I talking about?
Yeah, I don't know either.
Yeah.
You said in this timeline you do have dementia. So
yeah, I do seem to suffer from some debilitating at time dementia. So we're on day 52. Mitch McConnell's office has still not really disclosed what the exact conditions of his health are. There is, of course, rumors and speculation that he is either completely debilitated, beyond debilitated, and ceased to exist. And then there are the reports that his office gives, which is that he is in recovery. He is working from his therapeutic rooms in whatever hospital it is that he's being treated, George Washington, I guess. And we don't really have anything going as far as like true reports of what his condition is. Everything's speculative. The only thing that we do know for sure is that we passed that August 3rd deadline for Andy Bashir to supposedly it's a deadline to be able to either appoint someone, and I don't think he has the power to appoint anyone. I think he only has the power to actually do a special call for a special election. I think he addressed Senate Majority Leader John Thune to try and investigate McConnell's condition, but I'll be honest, McConnell in there, and I don't know how McConnell would vote because he seemed pretty against the SAVE Act. It doesn't.
Which is good.
I don't really think at McConnell's advanced age that he's really looking to set any sort of history or apply his name to a lot of the stuff that Donald Trump is really trying to push in order to really grasp onto power for as long as he can. But I think the likelihood is that McConnell is probably not in a condition or improving in a way that will return him to the Senate floor. I mean, this is his last term. He's not running for reelection, and he's probably done regardless. But the Senate's about to go on vacation for a month, so I don't know.
Strikes
I think that
me as very Weekend at Bernie's.
Right? Yeah. I suspect at some point we're probably going to have a Donald Trump Weekend at Bernie's version, or a Weekend at Bernie's Donald Trump edition, because if you listen to any of these doctors, I assume they're real doctors or whatever, but I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. But they diagnose Donald Trump on a daily basis, and they talk about how he's now like 100 days overdue on passing. They talk about how, I mean, we saw at the Lindsey Graham funeral at the National Cathedral, where Donald Trump definitely shit his pants right in front of one of his Secret Service officers, and absolutely put that man in a situation where he would prefer to catch a bullet right then.
That was the guy that gave the stink face, right?
Oh yeah. That was absolutely true suffering. Like, I am highly hypersensitive to smells. Like, that's one of those things. Like, I just I have been diagnosed with what was it called? But basically, I'm very sensitive to bad breath. So like coffee breath, whatever. Working from home is the greatest gift to me that ever could have happened, because I don't have to deal with smelling anyone's breath. And
who are these people that you're getting that close to?
Oh no, it's not by choice. When I was working in an office,
are they close talkers? Or they coming up to you?
They get close. They get close.
Why?
I'll be sitting at my desk. I would be one individual when he would come to work. He would have, I don't know if he smoked cigarettes or he drank coffee or whatever, but when he'd come up and he wanted to say something very quietly, he wanted to whisper to me, he would get real close, but not close enough to my ear. He would get right up to my face, and he'd be like right here, and he'd just be talking real softly, and I couldn't understand what he was saying anyway, because I was virtually gagging on the smell. But yeah, I don't know. That's why I said social distancing for me, perfect. Masks, fantastic. All anything for me was great. I appreciated anything that benefited me specifically. It was wonderful. And I'll take it. So basically, just to wrap it up on Mitch McConnell, we don't know. I mean, even Scott Jennings apparently on CNN said that more transparency was definitely needed. And if McConnell's office and McConnell himself had been more transparent about the situation, it would have saved him a whole lot of grief through this situation. And ultimately, what's going to happen is, regardless of when we get an announcement about McConnell's health, it is still going to be questionable as to why it took 52 or plus days in order to actually get any real information on Mitch McConnell's health. That's that, and it should be questioned. It should be questioned. It should be questioned just as hard as they question Biden's mental status and his own health, which I got to be honest.
There's a very simple solution to this. Stop sending these old fucks back to Congress.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Just obviously you can't put age limits on it, but I have elderly parents. They're in good health, but my mom is going to be 80 this month and my dad's 79. I'm of the opinion that once you reach a certain age, 70, 72, 75, that you should be taking a driver's test at least every other year to test your cognitive abilities, just to make sure that, you're not going to pose a danger to yourself or to other people. Yeah. I mean, at some point, your cognitive abilities, your mental capacity, it starts to deteriorate, and you're on the back end of the bell curve, and it's going to fall off. I mean, what does the American public think that's going to happen to these people when they're 80, 85, 90 years old serving in Congress? Of course they're gonna slip up or they're gonna have problems, or heaven forbid they're gonna be dead and they're just gonna keep them around, or quote unquote keep them alive, so to speak, whether they're really alive or not, because they're holding on to the power.
Yeah.
You also eliminate that with term limits, which I also like.
Yeah, I am in favor of term limits. The biggest one that I would change would be the presidency. I would absolutely set the presidency to a 1-term limit and a 1 6-year term limit like the Senate. And that's it. That way you never have a president that has to, at the 2-year mark, start campaigning for his next election.
Yeah. And
then ultimately when he gets reelected, that almost every single time for that next 4 years, because or at least the last 2 years of his second term, you typically have presidents that are in their lame dunk session. The party in control of Congress is not the president's, and there's nothing that gets done. That's the other thing. Congress, absolutely, people should be cognitive of the impact that Congress is having and what the workload is that is coming out of Congress in respect to, the terms that they get. If, let's say you're part of this particular Congress that has done virtually nothing since their election besides put the cabinet in place, I don't think any of them should be eligible for re-election. That there should be a grading process that says, if you've not sponsored a bill that has made it to committee, then you're not eligible. You're done. You can run again in 2 more years for the House, but you can't run this next term. You're out. You tried. You didn't try hard enough. That's it. So, but that's
I was sitting here looking at you talking, and it just occurred to me that you look like a younger version of Mr. Gibbs from Pirates of the Caribbean. No, he's got this nice, lovely gray patch down here. So his is kind of gray all over. Yours is just, it's like you're the younger version. You're starting out here and your gray's going to slowly morph back to the rest of your face.
I did take a weekend like a month or 2 ago and went through and watched all of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, not realizing that there are 5 of them.
Yeah.
It had not occurred to me that there were 5.
And they're I think allegedly making a 6th one.
That's what I heard. And that apparently...
I'm super excited about that.
Apparently Johnny Depp, in order to be on it, is going to cost no less than $60 million for Johnny Depp to be in it.
And you know what? Worth every penny. Every penny.
Well, on that, we will wrap it up. Big thanks to everybody for watching. Thank you for listening. Reminder, the Soda City Comic Con is coming up August 22nd, 23rd. Tickets available right now through sodacitycomiccon.com. You can also follow their social media across all of it. Links available at sodacitycomiccon.com. Right. Don't forget, you can follow me across all social media at Barrett Gruber. You can follow the con, visit links there again. Thanks for liking and hitting that bell. And if you can, give us a 5-star review, like, and follow. Leave a comment. Until next time, you all stay safe, be kind, and keep your hands to yourself. Well, you've made it to the end. You survived the rambling, the tangents, and whatever nonsense we just subjected your ears to. Congratulations. Now that your brain is sufficiently scrambled, how about doing something productive for democracy? Before you go off to forget everything you just heard, do yourself a favor and double-check that your voter registration is actually legit at theallaboutnothing.com/voter. It's about the only way to make sure your vote counts, even if your taste in podcast is questionable. The preceding podcast is solely owned by the host or hosts and is distributed by Big Media, LLC. Copyright 2026.